Explosive footage from a courageous whistleblower pilot has captured undeniable evidence of a chemtrails operation funded by none other than Bill Gates. The footage shows a plane dumping massive amounts of mind-altering, mood-controlling substances over New York, just days after the presidential election. At the same time, an insider from the World Economic Forum warns that the elite are ramping up this so-called chemtrails agenda across the US, with plans to manipulate public sentiment, stir unrest, and even ignite civil conflict. But this time, their plans are unraveling, as whistleblowers step forward with one mission: to expose and dismantle the operation. The tides are turning, people around the world are waking up, and we've got allies in high places. One thing is for certain: the elites are desperate, and will do anything to avoid facing justice for their crimes. A battle is brewing within the aviation industry as courageous whistleblower pilots step forward to reveal the truth behind the chemtrails agenda, a controversial program aimed at controlling humanity and gradually reducing the global population. The pilots allege that high-altitude chemical dispersal, often dismissed as mere conspiracy, is in fact a well-coordinated operation, kept secret from the public. They warn that the airborne chemicals released in the skies have profound implications for human health, ecosystems, and our collective future, urging people to wake up to what they warn is a dire global threat. The chemtrails agenda has been hiding in plain sight for decades. Everybody who's been paying attention has noticed the strange and unnatural patterns in the sky above cities and regional centres. But the mainstream media have been telling us not to believe our own lying eyes. They've been gaslighting us on behalf of their paymasters, the global elite, and demonising anybody who dares to ask questions and do their own research. But thanks to whistleblower pilots, we now have irrefutable evidence of planes spraying particulates and mechanically turning the chemtrails on and off, which can't possibly be explained as contrails. For those of you who are still saying chemtrails don't exist, explain how that was possible. Let's face it, it's not really a conspiracy anymore when entire states are looking to pass legislation to ban chemtrails on the grounds of public health and safety. Widely and repeatedly debunked by the scientific community. Try explaining that to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. of the incoming Trump administration, who sent shockwaves through the corridors of power in DC and Davos when he promised to stop the secret chemtrails operations poisoning humanity from above. Responding to a video about the types of pilots who fly chemtrails planes, RFK Jr. declared, "We're going to stop this crime." Unfortunately for the elite, in 2024 a succession of brave whistleblowers have come forward to share what they know about the agenda to poison everything under the sun. Despite the mainstream media's efforts to downplay it, these bizarre geometric lines don't resemble condensation trails, and planes in the past did not leave these unnatural patterns in the sky. Fast forward to 2024, and everyone in North America, Europe, and other parts of the developed world are inhaling toxic chemicals and airborne mRNA, according to whistleblowing pilots, who reveal that governments are working with the military and private contractors to medicate the public without their consent. A US commercial airlines captain, also a military veteran, has come forward with chilling details about the psychological efforts of the chemtrails program. According to the pilot, who goes by the name Johnny to protect his identity, the aerosolized substances being sprayed include chemicals that induce profound feelings of depression and hopelessness in people. Speaking with his voice digitized, Johnny reveals that many individuals involved in the chemtrails operation have taken their own lives after being exposed to trace amounts of the highly toxic substances they are spraying.
They're really strict about keeping the pilot and crew working on the program away from the chemicals they load into the plane. They have to wear PPE and biohazard gear and work in fume hoods. They keep the stockpile of chemicals in 660-gallon portable tanks. A lot of the guys I know who work on the program are true believers. They really believe they're doing something good for the world. I was once told by a pilot that some hazardous chemicals improve health in small doses, even if exposure to higher doses is lethal. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Here was this guy who wears the most advanced high-tech protective equipment in the world, making excuses for spraying low doses of a nerve agent on a population center in the US.
While the chemtrails program has its supporters working from within the corrupt system, many of them have taken their own lives in recent years. But it's not because their consciences finally caught up with them. It's because they were exposed to the toxic chemicals they were handling, leading to deep, crippling depression. Following his election victory, Donald Trump proclaimed that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to make America healthy again. And RFK stopped by a geoengineering watch with Dane Wigington to discuss the plan to stop the crime of chemtrails.
Let's start with one thing that a lot of people have heard about, and nobody really knows what to think about it, but chemtrails. Are chemtrails real? And tell us about them.
Let's start with the appropriate place to start. What we're seeing in our skies are not condensation trails in almost all cases. They are sprayed particulate trails, and we're not speculating. We have up-close film footage of military tankers and commercial, nozzles visible, turning on and off. Geoengineeringwatch.org, as a part of the film The Dimming, at great effort and expense, we acquired a National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration flying lab, put top scientists in it, took samples at altitude behind heavy aircraft. We sampled what they were emitting. The sample was processed at one of the top testing institutions in the world. We found exactly what we knew we would find: climate engineering elements, starting with aluminum, which is named in one of the most significant climate engineering patents. And the climate engineers themselves have stated their goal of putting tens of millions of tons of aluminum nanoparticles into the atmosphere annually as part of solar radiation management to block some of the sun's incoming thermal energy with no consideration of the consequences whatsoever.